This is important. Winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. You're a winner, but there's something holding you back. What is it? Why aren't you taking action? Why aren't you changing things to get back control of your money? They're constantly trying to take your control away. It's time you start getting control back, and that change starts with your mindset and starts with you owning it. So join me and let me show you how to do this. What's up, everybody? Wealth Webinar back in force. And today you've got Steven, you got Hannah, you got Gabby, gonna be talking about what the hell is holding you back. So this is going to be important because your mindset's broken and we need to fix that. And that's what we're going to do today. So welcome to Steven and Hannah and Gabby. Take it from there.
It's the Hannah and Gabby show today.
Woo!
Yeah, they got bonuses today.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just kind of start out, my name is Steven Nagy. We're, hand in hand with Chris, Hannah, Gabby, and our whole money multiplier team to bring you all the training, the strategies, the education, the consulting, the plan designs, and everything surrounding infinite banking concepts. So Gabby and Hannah today are going to kind of get into some things that they hear on a regular basis, whether it's from the beginning mindset of, well, I got to take a loan from my policy. Why would I pay 5% for my own money, to the plan designs that Hannah's so good at? And, why do I want high cash value now versus stronger growth later, and everything in between that pops up on our daily conversation. So Gabby, if you could just do a quick introduction, like kind of how you became involved in this craziness. A lot of people, and I speak with a lot of very, very successful people, multimillionaires on a weekly basis. And it's amazing how many people have never heard about infinite banking concept. And I was one of those people. I've been in the real estate investment entrepreneur world for 14 years. And I didn't learn about infinite banking until almost 3 years ago. Like, it's one of those things that once you learn about it, you can't get it out of your head. So tell us a little bit, Gabby.
Yeah, and that's a good introduction, because I just had a call yesterday with a guy who was saying, why don't they teach this in schools? Maybe not high school, but why not college? Why haven't, he was like, 50 years old, I believe. So he was like, why am I 50 years old and now learning about this? And so for me, I benefited learning from it a little bit sooner, because I was naturally just, I came across Chris, a job ad that Chris had posted for somebody to manage the front desk several years ago. I think it was in 2018. And so from there, I kind of climbed the ranks. I was always listening to what Chris had to say on all his phone calls, all his podcasts, everything that he ever did. It was always interesting to me. I always picked up little nuggets. And then eventually, he got into the money multiplier, and he had been in it before. But when he actually started actively teaching people about it, I was able to hop on as well. And I grew interested in the money multiplier, because it doesn't just help one person, it helps everyone. So, and that's what I was focused on. It's not a hard sell. It's something that you teach people about, and you bring them into your family. And so this is just one big money multiplier family. We're just kind of looking to help people all the time. I take calls as a money mentor. I'm a licensed agent. So I do, a lot of what Steven does, and work closely with Hannah and Chris, and we're all a tight knit team. And then it's constantly growing, and we're just trying to keep up and make sure that we get more and more people on board.
That's it. And that's a really good pivoting point, because one thing that Steven said is that infinite banking, it's all about the foundation of your financial legacy and what you're doing in your financial life. It's a tool that you're adding to your toolbox. And honestly, once you start getting into the realm of infinite banking, it's a lifestyle change. It's not just, hey, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. It's an incorporation of everything that's within your foundation of setting yourself up for the legacy. And so I'm Hannah Kessler. Most of y'all know my dad, Brent Kessler, but that's the reason that I'm into this, is because I'm second generation to this concept. So, dad was even talking about this when I was, what I always say, when I was pooping my diapers. but honestly, I really didn't start taking it seriously until I got my first apartment at 17. And then I was like, oh crap, now I got to pay for all this stuff. So that's when I started really getting serious about money and money management and funding things throughout life.
Awesome.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, Brent Kessler, so is Hannah's dad, as she said, he is the, the visionary of the money multiplier. He was a chiropractor in his career and had multiple chiropractic clinics and had almost $1 million in debt, and said, man, I'm going to, struggle for the rest of my career. Like, I'm doing really well financially, but where's all the money going? And, he was introduced to the infinite banking concept and started using it in his own life, in his own practice, in his own business, and basically said, man, this is unbelievable, and wanted to start sharing it with other chiropractors and other chiropractic clinics and people that he knew. And it just got to the point where it became so powerful of a financial tool that he went into it full time, started the money multiplier. And how many years later, that's where we are today. And one of the beautiful things about that is, everything that we do and that we teach is from experience. So we study books, we read books, we study what other people do, what banks do, what wealthy people do, but we also do it ourselves, and we learn from those experiences. And that's what allows us to give you such powerful advice, consultations, and suggestions. And with Hannah specifically, she's the one who designs a lot of these policies and teaches our design team on how to create such powerful policies. And that's through trial and error. That's through years and years and years of experience. That's through trying one insurance company, realizing that, hey, their illustrations might not be the actual best in the long run, trying other insurance companies and say, man, these things are actually performing better in later years than what we were expecting on the initial illustrations, and always improving and always getting better. And that's one thing I absolutely love about Brent, Hannah, Chris, Gabby, our entire team, is it doesn't matter how successful you are, how much you know, they're always willing to learn more and have that kind of humble attitude of, there is something else out there that I can continue to learn and continue to share. And I just absolutely love that. Like, we spent a couple weekends ago, we were in Buffalo, New York for the Money Multiplier Experience Mastermind event. It was only 25 clients and our team there. And Brent was there the whole weekend. And we spent a lot of time together talking and chatting. And I saw him interacting with if you didn't know who Brent Kessler was, you would think he was like brand new to all this and didn't even know what he was talking about, because he just sits back and listens and just shares these little words of wisdom all the time. So I can't wait to get into it with you, Hannah. I know you're exactly the same way. Like, if you met Hannah and Brent, you'd be like, oh, that's definitely a daughter and dad. Like, you guys are like spitting images and the way you talk and everything. So I love it. But it kind of goes to show like our little community we have too, right? And if there's any clients on here that have worked with us now for, over 6 months, over a year, you probably I hope you get this feeling, but it feels like we're all like a family. Does anybody feel that way in the comments if you're already a client of ours? And if you're not, you're going to obviously experience that as well. So where would you ladies like to start? Or Chris?
Yeah, real quick. I just want to comment on that one thing you said about how, we don't just teach this and talk about this. We use this every day. And it's something that I've made a very important piece of the culture, as has Brent, that not one money multiplier, not one mapping specialist, not one application specialist is not using this. And I remember even like cash value lines of credit. It's something we've been talking about a little bit more, that we'll continue to talk about more and more. I refused to really get into talking about that until I was using it in my own policies. And now that I am and I understand it, now I can talk about it. And I just think that's what, separates the boys from the men, the little girls from the big girls. It's just that knowledge of actually applying what we actually do in our own lives. Because if we didn't do that, we couldn't teach it. Or if we were teaching it, we'd just be teaching it, based on, like every other, I don't want to say every other guru, but a lot of the gurus that teach on things they've never even done, but they're like, oh, this looks cool, I'll teach on this and try to make a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing it and applying it, how can you teach somebody else to do it? And that's just our culture.
Well, then on top of that, I know Mr. Jim is here because I saw him in his name, but Jim and we were having a conversation. I think it was on like Monday, maybe it was last Friday, but even you guys teach me stuff new every day that I didn't even know about. So what Dad always says is that the student becomes the teacher.
Couldn't agree with that one anymore. I mean, whether it's Joseph or Devin or Steven, I mean, we're always pushing the envelope. Somebody's always using it and we're all learning from it. We can never, ever know too much. Just on our What the F Happened session today,
some guy made a comment, and he was just like, I waited all this time to get the answer, and this is, and I waited for that. And I'm just like, well, then teach me something I don't know. Like, you can't make a comment if you don't have something to back it up. Like, if you know a better way, teach us. Like, we're right now on the verge of learning about this brand new thing that's been around, but we didn't know about it. And now we're learning about it because we are always students, always learning. And that's just what makes us so much better, is there's always more to learn and more to push this, because, hey, it's not called the infinite banking concept for any other reason than it is infinite in the way we can use it. The only thing that stops that is exactly what you two are going to be teaching today: our mindsets. The inability for us to allow ourselves to learn new things, to venture into the uncharted territory that we've never heard about. We always want to stay in our little cocoons, our little boxes that we've been trained around our whole life. And getting outside that box is the hardest thing. And that's the biggest problem I see in this business of what we do, is we get people so far, but then all of a sudden they retract back into the box. They don't feel comfortable outside the box because it's new. It's not the norm. It's not what their brother-in-law is doing. It's not what their financial advisor is talking about. And they retract. And then the biggest, this is absolutely sad, to be honest with you, is a lot of people don't move forward with what would be the best thing that they could ever do for their financial future because somebody else told them they shouldn't. They literally stop themselves right in the track of getting to where they are, the journey that they're about to embark on. They stop because they start adapting somebody else's ideologies that tells them, oh, that's not good. That is sickening. But that's the world we live in. And unfortunately, I think we all have to sometimes realize we can't help everybody. And it's too much effort and energy to try to get somebody to change a broken mindset, that sometimes we just have to just say, hey, sorry, we can't help you until you fix this mindset problem you got. And when you do fix it, we'll be here with open arms. But until that point, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And real fast, this is it is a mindset shift. IBC, you got to start understanding, like, things like debt, things like loans are not bad words. When you use them properly in your own private bank, that's just a different way of thinking about things. And Chris, you say it best with Will Rogers. What does Will Rogers say?
The biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. The biggest problem is what people think they know that just ain't so.
Yeah. So you might be sitting here like listening to the stories, the backstories, things like that. But that's important, because let me ask you, do you want to take advice from somebody that's just yapping off in the mouth about something they read, or somebody that's actually been through it, lived through it, sweat through it, bleeded to learn those lessons and be successful? I personally would rather learn from this person. So, and it is a mind shift. So where do you ladies want to hop in? Where do you guys want to start?
Yeah. So I think how this is going to work is we'll go through some common objections that we've heard on the phone calls with any of the interactions that we've had. And feel free, if you have one, something that you're trying to overcome and we don't hit it, feel free to put it into the Q&A and we'll hit it. So we'll name the objection, and then each of us will go into it. And we'll talk about ways to overcome that. So the first one, we'll start off with a bang. This one's when we get a lot. It's I don't make enough money. So anybody have initial thoughts about I don't make enough money in that objection and what to do?
My first thought is that I always say, if you have a will, that there's going to be a way. I mean, you don't have to start off with some folks think that when they get into infinite banking, they have to do 20,000 a year into their policy. Well, I didn't start off with 20,000 a year. But what I did for my first policy, I had a big old savings account sitting on the side, Christmas money, grandparents' money, whatever. And Dad told me, hey, just throw all that in on an annual premium, and if you need help, I'll help you with the premium. Just because Dad, I was fortunate for that Dad would help me if I came into that bind. But honestly, I've never had to go to him and ask him for help to make my premium. So like my first policy, I started off on a $5,000 a year annual premium, and now I'm up to the point where I'm putting in close to $30,000 a year into my policies. But honestly, so you don't have to start with that big lump sum and just jumping in onto the deep end and hopefully your floaties are inflated. Well, you can always start off at your minimum, which is what I say, the 10 times the age rule, right? So if I have somebody that's 30 years old, their minimum to get started would be $300 on a monthly premium. And on top of that, this is where the mindset shift starts to come in, because it's not a payment, right? This premium is a deposit that's going into an account that you own, that you control. And now you have immediate cash in that account, or your privatized bank, i.e. the policy, that you can take out and start using. So it's not like it's all going in and you're never going to see it again, right? And this is where it's the lifestyle change and the mindset change comes into it. And really, if you're living, if you're in that financial hamster wheel, living paycheck to paycheck, I mean, really, you got to ask yourself, do you want to be in that for the rest of your life, right? Let's now start coming to the table and let's start budgeting. Where are you sending your dollars every month? Maybe it's not a good idea to go to Starbucks 2 times a day, right? So that's where, or pick up little jobs. I remember I had to go pick up a little job one time just to make just a little bit more income, because I was in a tough spot. But hey, I got through that time and now I'm excelling. So DoorDash, right? You can always just do little things on the side to get yourself out of these predicaments, because truthfully, you're going to be the only one to get yourself out of that predicament. You can't go to somebody and say, hey, I need some help here, because that's your life and you need to start being in control of it.
You know, I got a comment on that. I'm going through some things with a family member. I'm not going to get into that, but you know, I see it firsthand, and I also see it with a lot of people we talk. People are often like, well, there's no way I can do that. They come up with excuses because I don't have the money. I don't know where I would get the money to do this. And, you know, the biggest thing I always think about my journey, you know, back when I was in really hard times, barely could keep a roof over my family's head. You know, I had to go out and do extra. I didn't like it. Like weekends, I would go out and mow lawns. I would landscape a place. I would do a paint job on something. Like, it's not stuff you want to do on a weekend, but you know what? To me, it was just a means to the end. Like, I had all this debt, I had all this credit card, things were hard. So in order for me to get that differential, that ahead, you know, to get ahead, I just had to go do more, you know, and that's what they talk about with the hustle. I'm not saying that that's the end all be all is the hustle, but sometimes if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you got yourself in a bad place, that's the only way you're going to do it. I get comments on TikTok all the time. Well, how would I ever do this? Where's the money going to come from? I don't know, dude. Where's your money come from? Oh, you're living paycheck to paycheck because you spend every penny you make? Go get another side job. Do something on the weekends. I know you're not working 24/7, so do something different. Well, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. Okay, well then keep living the life and keep complaining. Like, that's the problem. People have to be willing to do more to get more. If they want more in life, sometimes you got to be more in life. You got to do more in life. It's not going to just happen to you. Too many people have their hands out right now, waiting for somebody else to give them a handout. That's going to keep you right where you're at. Stop putting your hands out and start actually going out and saying, how can I help that person solve the problem? How can I help this person do this? How can I help that person do that? And then money will start coming in, and then stop spending that extra money and do something smart with it. And that's how we all did it. My first policy, like yours, Hannah, was super small. I didn't have extra money, but I took the plunge. It was a little over $200 a month. And look at, now I'm 7 policies deep. I don't even know how much my monthly or my annual amount is I put in. A lot, 6 digits. I'm catching up with your dad, but you know, I got a little bit of a
Delayed start.
Yeah, delayed start, but I'll get there. That's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot about, are you looking at the big picture? Or are you worried about right now? And with these policies, it's the big picture, it's the long term. If you're focused on, you know, counting every penny and making sure that, you know, you have food on the table, that's one thing. That's just survival. And like Chris said, you got to do something different. If you want something different, you got to do something different. But you can't want something that's going to change your future, but not be willing to do anything to get there. This is a big picture item. This is something that you stick it out, you stick it through the long term, and you're going to be where you want to be. You just have to make some sacrifices. It's uncomfortable. It's not fun. But you got to do it, and you got to make the decision, and there's a plan that's involved. Just like budgeting, anybody just goes and budgets, you know, well, I'm not sure if everybody budgets, but if you're a budgeter, if you like to do budgeting, budget this in, find a way. There's always a way. There's always going to be a way. You just got to find it.
And that's where the growth comes from. This is what I personally believe. I think growth comes from being in uncomfortable situations, learning from that, and then growing so that you're prepared for the next situation. Oh, I've seen this before. I know how to handle it this time. You know. So, all right. So we kind of beat that one up. Steven, do you have any comments on that one?
No, you got to start somewhere, man. Get in there, hop. I always explain, even people that have, making good money and have money available to dump into a policy. If this is brand new to you, you might still have that hesitation or that fear, right? Just not understanding exactly how everything's going to work. So start with a minimal policy. I mean, that's what Devin did. Devin Burr started with a very minimal policy, and now he has 8 of them, putting hundreds of $1,000s a year into the policies. So you got to start somewhere. You got to get comfortable with the idea and the concept. It's like swimming. Somebody told me this one time. You can read all the books and you can watch all the videos about swimming, right? Jumping in the water, splashing around. You got to hold your breath. But until you actually dive in that pool, you're never going to actually experience or know what swimming is. Infinite banking is very, very similar. And I know we studied all of our clients a few years back, and those that had policies for 1 year with us, for over 12 months, 92% of them opened up additional policies with us. Why is that? Because you got to crawl before you walk. You got to walk before you run. And then once you're up and running, you can take off and run marathons and Ironmans and do all the other stuff out there in this world. But you got to start somewhere. So do that.
Yeah. All good points. Okay. We're going to move on to the next one. This is another one that we get quite a bit. This one's my spouse isn't on board. And this isn't just spouse, it can be any family member. We get this one a lot. Okay, well, how do I get my wife on board? How do I get my mom on board? How do I get my sister, brother, mother, whatever? Anybody who's, there's a lot of people in your ear. I know Chris said this before, who are talking to you and saying, this sounds too good to be true. Why would you do this? If we had known about this when we were younger, maybe it would have made sense, but it just doesn't feel right to me. So guys, what do you have to say about somebody talking in your ear and them not being on board?
Mom, would you like to come in on this one? No, because honestly, when dad first heard about this, oh, you wanted to sit in? Okay. So
you want me to talk about it?
Yeah. Okay. This is my mom. So, mom was not on board when dad came home and was talking about infinite banking. At that time, they had all the chiropractic offices, they had the condos and boats, and they were just in a boatload of debt. And dad wanted to start a $2,000 a month policy, and mom had no idea what the policy was. Her mindset was, why are you doing $2,000 a month into a whole life policy just for death benefit, So what made you change your mind in that area that allowed dad to now go up to 19 policies?
Well, I saw him spending money on stuff, like spending money on boats and wave runners and cars and all this kind of stuff, and going out to dinner. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, at least if he puts it in the whole life insurance policy, he's not going to spend it right away. So I guess I saw it as for savings, and it actually helped our marriage. It brought us closer together, and we made plans and what we're going to buy next, and it helped to funnel some of the chaos.
Actually, that's a good point too, because we need to start getting around the table and talking about money. For whatever reason, people think money is taboo. We don't talk about it. You don't tell people how much you make or what you're doing with your money, but you guys got to stop that. You got to really talk to people about what you're doing in your financial life and spreading that financial literacy throughout them. Okay. Because we know we have some people who come to us, and they've worked themselves up. They were a blue collar worker, and they just got themselves to the point where they have all this money, but then now they don't know what to do with it because they've never been taught how money works and where should I store it? What should I do with it next? And so that's a big point as well.
Yeah. And I like to, if for anybody in the comments, just chat in. If the first time you heard about this, you said, nope, no way, not doing it. It's not for me. I can imagine it'd probably be every single one of us. I did the same thing. And actually I was selling policies, and my husband was telling me, are you sure about those? So I had him talking in my ear. I already had a policy. I was teaching others about the policy and I still had him naysaying. So it's kind of a matter of letting naysayers go until they come around, showing them how it's working for you, being confident in your knowledge about it. And once you see it work, your confidence grows, and then they'll finally see the right way to handle their money as well. So it's it can be a long process, especially for some people. But if there's trust there, and if you can put in the time and you can be patient, then the confidence will rise, and so will theirs.
Yeah, my wife just asked how much death benefit she would get if I passed. I told her, and she got this weird look in her eye and just smiled and walked away. So I've been sleeping with one eye open lately, but it's all good.
That might not be the best thing.
Yeah, that's why we sleep with our doors locked.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything to add to that, Chris, on the spouse or Hannah?
And I want to add one thing. I say this all the time. And if you guys went to the experience event, I put this in the little note that was in there next to Dad and I's name. But sometimes you got to fire your friends and your family. And it sounds harsh, but they're going to be the ones to hold you back. They say, no, you shouldn't do this. You should be doing this, this, and this. But why are you listening to them? You are the one that's going to be in control of your own life. So start taking that control.
Yeah,
learn from those who are already doing it.
That's important. Like, why would you ever take it? Go ahead.
I like this one. Fire them until you can hire them.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I think one of the things that people make a mistake is they take advice from people that aren't living the life they want to live. Like, why is that the person you would take advice from? If that person's not living your perfect day or living the life you want to live, like, how can they give you advice on how to get there? They can't. Seek out that knowledge. Like, even as a financial advisor, I took knowledge from a lot of people that, weren't living the life I wanted, but that's the only knowledge that I had until I stepped out of that box and I had to start putting some of my friends in time out and seek the right people that were living that life. That's how I started doing it. And it's a natural progression. It happens very organically, but first you got to learn to put the negative people in time out. And that's the hardest part. The other thing I was going to comment just on that whole thing is, one of my favorite things about what we do is when we see our clients put policies on their children. And now I can finally relate with Vivi being 15 months. She has a banking policy that was started literally when she was 5 or 6 months old. The one thing that I often think about with Vivi is she's never going to look at money the same way all her friends do. So she's literally going to go through life looking at her friends saying, you guys are all absolutely batshit crazy because you have it all wrong. So she's only going to know how money really works. And I think like that's where it's got to start. It's got to start. Number one, the schools probably will never adapt to or adopt this, but we got to teach our children how to be in control of their money. And not only that, we got to teach our children the principles of what money is. Stop teaching your kids not to talk about money. Make them want to talk about money and the awesome tool that it can be and how it can help a lot of people. Teach your children how to put wings on churches and how giving is one of the most important things. But hey, if they got no money or they don't want to talk about money, how can they ever help others? That's the one thing. Like, I grew up with no money. And I grew up in a mindset in a family where, oh, well, when we have money, we'll help others. But that's the wrong way of looking at it. Help others. And then that's how you're going to get ahead. Even I always tell the story, like just today, I did it again. I get in the mail so many of those letters asking for donations. I don't look at them and be like, oh my God, these people are always asking for money. You know what? I look at it, I'm like, thank God I'm in a position where I can help all of these people. I wrote a check. It's $25. I wrote a check for $25 to 10 Lives Club, a cat place, that helps cats. I didn't think about it. I just wrote the check. I don't expect nothing in return, but I never used to do that because I was always thinking, okay, well, I'll donate when I have the means or when I have the money. I should have started that a long time ago. And my daughter is going to come up at a very young age that when she has money, the thing she's going to be taught to do is find a way to help others with what she has. So we just got to teach our children the right way.
And too, because people talk about how money is so bad, right? I personally, I don't think money's a bad, I think it's just a tool. It's a tool to help people grow and learn, and it's a resource. Like you said, Chris, that there's no poor people adding wings to any churches. So how about you start adding those wings to the churches? Go ahead, Gabby.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the one key word I took away was you're helping. You're helping not just yourself, but those people, those naysayers. And this is kind of a mindset shift too. If somebody's telling you, no, this isn't the right way, and you know that it is, you're going to help them in the future. So it's somebody, if you're, like Hannah said, if you fire your friends and your family, for now, let them go, do your thing, and then they'll come back, and you'll be the proof, and you will have helped them in the process. So it's not more of a, I know we think of it like, well, I want to do this. I think that this is great, and I want to try it. It's a lot about you, but it's also about them, and it's about you showing them and leading the way, and being that trailblazer.
I guess one more thing I want to add on, because actually Chris gave me this one. I like it, but he says some people feel like they're a whack-a-mole player, right? So those whack-a-moles that keep popping up at the arcade, and you gotta hit them to get the points, and so people feel like they're the whack-a-mole little mole popping up, and people are just hitting them every time they pop up because of they're not educated in that realm of what we are talking about. So here, but hopefully we're creating a community where you guys can come to us and say, hey, this person said this. I just want to feel comfortable on this topic. Can we talk about it? And we'll discuss it.
All right. Yeah. That kind of leads right into, this sounds too good to be true. How many times have you heard that from people?
If I had $1 for every time I heard that, I wouldn't be sitting here on the Zoom meeting. I'd be out in Mexico with a drink in my hand every single day. No, I'm just messing with you, but no, they do. Like even dad. So I can only I can talk from my own personal experience of being in this for 6 years now, but then also because dad's been in this since back in 2008 when he was a customer of it. But really he heard about it in 2006, but then didn't take action until 2008 because he thought it was too good to be true. And then it was when his other people, his colleagues in the chiropractic world were coming to him and saying, hey, I'm doing this, you should be doing this too. And dad's like, oh crap, I missed the train on that one. So I guess that also falls back on our other topic. If you're leading by example, people will trust you and say, oh, you're doing this, I see how it's working, I want to hear your story on it.
Yeah, and I want to give you guys a lot of credit for, this sounds too good to be true. Most of the time in the world we're living it is most of the time. I get it. I'll give you guys a lot of credit because you don't know who you can trust. You don't know what works and what doesn't. You don't know what makes sense and what doesn't for you. You just got to rely on people sometimes that you don't know or you don't trust yet. But if you stick around the campfire, like we always talk about, and you learn from the people who are already doing it, you'll naturally develop that trust for those people. And you'll realize that it's not too good to be true, that it is what we say it is. And not everything has something negative that goes along with it. So not everything that you hear about that's too good to be true actually is too good to be true. This is one of those things. It helps not just one person, it can help anyone and everyone. So just give yourself a little slack with that one. I know it's tough to trust when you're not sure, about the concept. If it's been, you're 50 years old or more and you've never heard about it before and you think, okay, well, why should I trust you? How is this different than any other thing, any other scam that I've been involved in, any other person who's wanted my money, any other payment that I've made in my life? How is this different? So just stick with us. The more time that you spend with your nose in the books and learning from people who are doing it, the more comfortable you're going to be with the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. It's, and back to what we started with earlier, it's too good to be true because you think that you know everything already. You're not willing to open up and learn from other people or learn that there might be a better way or there's something else. So it's just easy to convert back to. And like you said, Gabby, this day and age, it's very common for things to be too good to be true, right? But when you break this down, it's a very simple and as we say, boring whole life insurance policy. There's not a lot to it. I mean, the way it functions, the way it works is it's just whole life. Like, it's simple. There's nothing there for it. The power of it comes in the design. The power of it comes in the specialized engineering that on how we create it. And then the real power of it comes in using the whole life policy with the infinite banking concept, working with the mapping team to map out your plan and use the policy to, continue on, these webinars and learning different strategies on how to use the policies. Like Chris said earlier, there's infinite banking because there's an infinite way to use these policies. And we had a question come in that I wanted to go over to a client question here. It says, I'm 18 and have my own policy. I have no expenses right now. I also have cash sitting in savings. What next steps would you guys recommend? In addition, question is, how can you use the policy to buy cars? So let me start with just real fast. If you have a policy, because we get this a lot, right? You don't have any debt any longer. So what do we do with the policy? Because, we talk a lot about, let's get rid of the high interest debt, especially credit card debt, because if you're paying 22% to Visa and you're making 15% returns, you're still net losing money, right? So let's get rid of that high interest debt and that kind of thing. And then let's concentrate on building wealth. Okay. So there's multiple ways to build wealth. There's active investing, there's passive investing, there's making smart financial decisions, like buying a vehicle using a policy where it's going to pay you back for every dollar of that vehicle versus going out and buying that vehicle with cash where the money's now gone from your financial life forever. You don't want to buy depreciating assets. You want to buy, for instance, real estate to produce income. You want to buy cars in a way that they're going to get paid back through using your infinite banking policy. So this is financial education. So real quick, we do have our Money School Essentials foundational class. This is our 3-day flagship class that Chris, myself, and a host of expert speakers come in and train people like world-renowned economists like Harry Dent, people that teach tax strategies on how to keep more of the money that you earn, how to protect the wealth that you're creating. So we teach this during our 3-day Money School Essentials class. I'll put the link in the comments, but the next one is coming up October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It's a virtual class. So the good news is you can do it from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to go anywhere for this one. So I'll put that in there. But maybe, Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about maybe how you bought the last few cars you bought, or Hannah, how you designed these policies to accomplish that?
Yeah, I mean, you might not have debts, but you're still going to buy cars. I mean, Joseph here just, went out and splurged and bought himself a new Cadillac. It's like, we're always going to be buying new cars. So when we buy cars, you got 4 different ways you can buy cars. You can pay cash for it, which to me, I think is the stupidest way that you can buy a car, because paying cash for a car, let's say it's $40,000 car. You give $40,000 to the seller of the car, and that 40 grand has lost all earning potential for you for the rest of your life. You'll never, ever be able to have that money work for you again. But what you get in return is the worst asset you could ever own, which is a depreciating vehicle. I don't care what kind of car you have, they all go down in value. That's a fact. Second way is you can finance the car through the dealership or through a bank. And most people do that. You could lease the car, which is like renting. You make monthly payments for the vehicle. And at the end of it, you just turn the car back over. It's like you just gave the money away and you could steal the car. So what I did is I learned how to use my own bank to buy cars. And it was very simple. Brent showed me a diagram and showed me a training on how to get all the money back for every single car that I would ever buy, drive, and own. I watched it and I literally felt stupid after I watched it. I didn't feel stupid because what he was teaching me made me dumber. I felt stupid the fact that I never figured this out myself. It is so simple, literally. All we do to get all the money back for every car you're ever going to buy, drive, and own is do the same damn thing you do with the bank. With the bank, you give them monthly payments. Instead of paying the bank monthly payments, pay yourself back monthly payments. I've got great videos, and I believe that was Derek who was asking. Derek, go to my YouTube channel at the Chris Naugle, and there's a video that says how I bought my last 3 cars. And it'll show you many years ago, I bought an A8, then I bought an S4 Avant, and then I bought my wife's Porsche. And it'll show you dollars and cents how I did at each one of those. There's nothing hard about it, man. Just treat your money the same way you treat the bank's money. If you take a loan from the bank, you make monthly payments to the bank. All of us do that. And we don't even think there's a problem with it. There is. The problem is every month you're that much poorer. Every month you give them a monthly payment and you'll never get that money back. If you change one thing, and that's where the money goes first, and you do the same exact thing, you make that same car payment, but you pay it back to your bank every single month, the coolest thing happens. You have all that money in your bank, okay? That money never ever stopped earning interest and dividends the entire time. And guess what? You got the car in the driveway, and after 5 years or however long you finance, the cool part is you pick and choose your terms. However long that is, the car is now bought and paid for in the driveway. So when you sell the car, it's like just getting a big windfall of money because you've already got all the money back. Imagine that. Let that sink in. You already got all the money back for the car because you treated your money the same as you used to treat the bank's money, and you paid yourself monthly. Nothing new. You're all doing it right now, whether it's a lease or a car payment. Now all the money's in your account. Secondarily, when you sell the car that's in your driveway, all that money, that's yours now again. Now you've got 2 buckets of money. So now when you buy the next car, you could either be conservative and buy a modest car, or you could double down and take the money from both and buy a nicer car. You know, we're always trying to upgrade our lives. So cars are the easiest example because hell, it's fun. Number 2, we always are going to buy more cars. But the other thing too, last year, the market tanked with COVID. In next year or 2022 or 2023, the market's going to tank again. It's going to hurt a lot of people. A lot of people are going to have to work into the retirement years. A lot of people are going to suffer. A lot of people are going to lose 40, 50% of their retirement savings and their investment dollars. But the coolest part is people that are ready for what's coming will have the biggest opportunity of their lifetime. They'll be able to take the money that they have, i.e., your savings that you have sitting there or money in your private banking policy, and you'll be able to deploy that and buy stocks or crypto or bonds at prices that you right now can't buy them at. Let's say you could buy Apple 50% off right now. How many of you would rush out and buy Apple stock if it went down 50%? All your hands should go up. Apple is one of the best run companies there are out there. Whether you agree with the company or not, like they got lots of money, they're well run, but when the market tanks, their stock will tank. Doesn't matter how good their new iPhone 3014 model, I don't know, what number are they on? Whatever it is. It doesn't matter how good the phone is, their stock will tank. And that's when you're going to want to buy it. Tesla, those cars are great cars, but when the market tanks, Tesla stock will tank. You buy it. Like there's never not going to be something to invest in. The biggest thing that pisses me off about what we do, sorry, I'm stealing the thunder, Hannah and Gabby, but this is the biggest thing that really, pisses me off is when people say, well, I could make more money investing in stocks, or I could make more money putting my money in Bitcoin than I can with this. Right there, I want to slap them. You guys ever see those things on YouTube, those slapping contests where you got 2 people sitting across from one another and they like warm up and they do this? That's what I'm thinking at that point. I'm like, how do I get that momentum to slap this person as hard as I can? Because they think it's and or. They think, oh, if I do this, I can't invest my money. Caleb, one of our friends, wrote a book called The And Asset. You don't need to do this or that. It's both. Put your money, just change where your money goes first, and then take your money out and redeploy it into the stocks when they go down. Now, all of a sudden, you're making money twice. I've never met anyone in my life that's pissed when they make money twice for doing the same thing they used to do when they only made money once. I'm done.
And the only other thing I want to add to that is using the policies once you're out of the debt. I mean, yeah, you can buy things you do, but if you're growing wealth and you're currently just using money multiplier as like an extra additional way to grow wealth and plan for the future, a solid strategy is through private money lending. So passive income. So this is, finding somebody that has experience with, let's say, flipping houses that uses other people's money because that way they can scale. Because it comes to a point when you're borrowing money from a bank that they're just going to say no more. Like they're going to stop lending to you. And I know, Chris, when you had your show HGTV on HGTV Risky Builder, that was a problem you ran into, was the banks just stopped lending you money, right? And that's when you went out and you had to learn how private money worked, and you built those relationships with people like Greg Hurley and Mike Baird, and we still have a relationship with today. So what we did is we actually created a platform, a network called the Private Money Club. So the Private Money Club is a place that provides these types of opportunities and connects investors that are borrowing money with people that have money looking to lend it and grow it passively. So if you're looking for returns, 8, 10, 12, 15 plus return, there's all kinds of different deals, options, short-term, long-term within the Private Money Club. So that might be a place for you to start, learning and educating. And also if you need help with those kinds of places, like, who's an investor that I can trust? What are the deals look like? That kind of thing. Private Money Club is the place to be. So I'll put that link in there also. But if you are more on the education side and you're kind of newer and just learning all this stuff, definitely start with the 3-day training. Very, very important, because the concepts we teach during the 3-day training will set you up for everything you need in the future.
Yeah, and I kind of want to piggyback off what Chris said, because that's another thing that a lot of people talk about, is that they'd rather put their money somewhere else and get a bigger return. And I loved what Chris said about it. And I also want to add too that you are your own biggest enemy in that scenario. That's one of the biggest mind shifts. Is I know when you go to, let's say you go to a job interview and they ask you what you know, and sometimes it's better for you not to know anything yet. And that's kind of a little bit how it is here. It's good to have a general knowledge about finances, but if you think that you know everything about it and you think that you're going to make the exactly, Dustin, the paradigm shift, it's a paradigm shift. You have to think about it in a different way. Like Chris said, you don't have to just do one or the other. You can do both, but a lot of people don't realize that that's a possibility. And if you can start at a base of controlling that money, getting it somewhere where you control it and you earn that minimum guaranteed interest, and then you do something else with it, you're always protected. So you got to start shifting that mindset. This, again, it just comes down to, are you standing in your own way? Are you that person? Instead of it's, your mother, your sister, your brother talking in your ear, it's you. It's the voices in your head. You have to silence them to be able to do something different, do something in a better way.
So let's touch on that, because we get that a lot. Hey, infinite banking and treating it like an investment, right? Because people like to compare. So if you ever hear IBC, that's just shortened abbreviation of infinite banking concept. So people like to compare IBC to an investment. Well, why would I put my money into the policy that's only making me 4% when I could go take my money and go make 12% in my real estate deal? But right, it's not about that. It's the process to go make your transactions and your investments. And that's why Nelson Nash, because remember, y'all, the whole idea of this concept stems from the book Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. And in that book, he talks about the rate of return, why it's not important about the rate of return in policies, because the rate of return is not what the concept's about. It's about the ownership, the control, that the tax benefits of the policy, and creating that foundation for your whole financial life there. So as Chris mentioned before about Caleb and the and asset, I like that he calls it the and asset, because you're going to be putting the dollars into the policy, as I like to picture as a funnel, right? I'm funneling my dollars through the policy so I keep forever earning that interest. And I can go take it to that real estate deal that makes me 12%. So why can't I do both?
Yeah, no argument there. Chris, you want to add anything to that? I know you were just talking to somebody about that was trying to really compare it to, the stock market, or compare it to, kind of what they're doing now.
Yeah, it's not just one person. It's a lot of the people. They get so hung up on the specially designed and engineered whole life's guaranteed rate, which, currently right now this year is 4%. Next year, it'll be between 3.25 and 3.5 under the 7702 for new policies issued. Like, old policies will stay the same. And, they kind of look at me and talk to me like, how can you get excited about 4%? And I say to them, 4% never gets me excited. But where you're not understanding this is it's not about the 4%. It's about what you do with the money after it leaves your policy. So I put money into the policy. That money for the rest of my life is locked in to earn a guaranteed 4% plus whatever the dividend is. There's nothing that can stop that. Not an act of God like COVID or like a hurricane or a tornado can't stop that. It's a contractual obligation from the insurance company. So my money's always earning that. So that's the given. Then I take that money out and I let's say I buy a car, or I invest it in a stock, or I lend it out. I do a lot of lending through Private Money Club, and I lend it out at 10 to 12%. So now I'm making 10 to 12% while my money is still earning that guaranteed 4%. So that's a win. And that's the part they misunderstand. They want to think that this is all about the whole life, because that's what they can associate. They can wrap their hands around the whole life. Like that's the one thing they want to talk about, because it's like the one thing they've figured out. Screw the damn whole life. The whole life is just the machine. All the whole life does is provides a mechanism for me to run money through the damn thing in a tax efficient manner with a guarantee behind it. And I get protection from judgments and liens. Like that's it. Like that's it. Anything else that we want to mention about the whole life is a waste of our time. Let's talk about what really matters. And that's what we do with the money. That's the only thing that matters. And that is, I was just texting this to someone. Banking and taking back the banking function in our lives is the number one thing that we do. We don't sell whole life policies. That's just the only machine we can use that allows us to get those benefits. What we truly teach is banking. We teach you how to take back the banking functions in your life, the banking functions that your whole life you've been taught to give away. So when people are so fixated on this 4%, and then the biggest thing they get fixated, well, and they always think they got me. Like on TikTok, TikTok's awesome because everybody always thinks they're super smart and they've got you. Oh, I got you. You didn't mention that it costs 5% to borrow your money from your policy. I'm like, I talk about the 5% all day long. The 5% is a moot point number. 5% is my cost of capital. Forget about the fact that my money, all of it, even if I take it all out, is still earning the 4%. Now my cost of capital is 5%. So what that tells me is when I go out and I look for an opportunity, a car or, a lending opportunity, I got to make more than 5%. So let's say I have no opportunities and I got money sitting there. I lend money to my company and I use that money for marketing. All of you have seen my ads. Well, those ads cost a lot of money, about $40,000 a month. So my policy funds a lot of those marketing dollars and I charge my company 6%. So now just by the math, if it costs me 5% to use the money and I charge my company 6%, I'm making a percentage spread. And then they're still hung up and they're like, well, that's hardly anything. You forgot, dude. You forgot that my money's still earning 4% plus dividends, even though I'm using all that money. So like it's the 4% plus the dividend plus the 1%. And they also seem to forget that I don't have to pay any tax on that. All that gain, that interest in that dividend is tax-free. So what is the tax equivalent yield? Well, for a guy like me in my tax bracket, it's probably 7%. So if I wanted to duplicate what I can do with this guaranteed, stupid, boring whole life, I got to put my money into something in the market with risk that's going to make 7% to get the equal return after taxes. Like, this is the thing I don't understand, but there's just an awful lot of people that fall into the Will Rogers quote. And that is, they think they know what they don't know, and they always want to be the expert. I've been talking about the market dropping for a while. The only reason, and I hate to say this because this is going to make me seem a little shallow, but whatever. The only reason I really want the market to tank is not because it's going to create an opportunity for me. It's because it's going to wake people the F up. They're going to actually realize that they weren't right, that they didn't know everything that they did. And now all of a sudden, they're going to seek the knowledge they need. The problem with people and the way that we operate because of our false beliefs and the myths we've been taught is sometimes we have to hit a low point before we're willing to learn. You know why I know this? That's me. I wouldn't have ever learned about this if I didn't have a complete failure. If I didn't hit the bottom in 2014, I wouldn't have been seeking this knowledge. My ego would have just kept me going on whatever path it was, thinking I knew everything. But I hit the bottom. And I was like, something has to change. There's got to be something else out there. And I just happened to stumble upon a 90-minute video because a guy named Mike Baird in Salt Lake City said, hey, you really got to learn this privatized banking thing. And hey, this Brent guy will teach you that. And Brent said, I'm not talking to you until you watch the 90-minute video. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Fine, I'll watch the video. That video changed my life like it changed so many of your lives. And that's the story right there. That's the only reason I'm even optimistic about a fallout of the market, because I think a lot of people will then be willing to see the other side and to understand that they didn't know what they don't know. Because right now it's too easy to make money. Oh, I'm making money in crypto. Oh, I'm making money in my stocks. I'm making money in my 401k. Everybody's making money. If you're making money, why would you want to learn something new? You might not. And unfortunately, those people sometimes are going to have to get slapped around a little bit before they're willing to learn something new.
Well, and then it also goes back to the environment of where you're leaving your money at, right? What environment do you have all of your dollars in stock that it can go up and down? Do you have all your dollars in the conventional bank? Where actually, and that's why I think people get a little I don't know what the right word I want to use. I want to say standoffish, but I don't know. But they get closed-minded to the idea of holding your wealth inside the whole life policy versus the conventional bank, just because the conventional bank, that's all we know about, right? People say, hey, if I need money, I go down to the bank because that's where I store all of my money, or I store all my money in cash underneath my mattress, right? And so actually the environment is super important. And Nelson talks about this in his book again, about the airplane example, about the headwind and the tailwind, or, hey, if you go now, you'll have a headwind. If you go now, there's no wind coming to you. You won't have any tail or head. But if you just wait a little bit longer, you got this big old tailwind coming your way, and now you're going to get there 2 hours quicker. So just a little side note there. But it's really going in, and if we really want to get into the world of it all, what we're really comparing is fractional reserve banking. And if you really want to dive a lot into that, I really like the book, The Creature of Jekyll Island, of when they created the Fed and the Fed and the World Bank that we have out there, and really seeing all the myths that come from that, versus Austrian economics, which is what we teach over here with the banking policies, because $1 always has to protect that $1. So now, and again, it all goes back to mindset. And now I'm in a mindset where I feel more comfortable personally storing my money into the policy versus the conventional bank. I don't leave more than 3 months of overhead inside of my conventional bank.
Yeah, no, that's all awesome stuff, man. So I wanted to kind of pivot now and bring something else up that comes up a lot, right? So it's very easy to get excited and chase over shiny objects. And I think that plays into it a little bit. I think because it's a whole mindset shift, sometimes people will learn about this, get really excited, get it started, and then kind of get back to life. You know, life gets back in the way, and, you know, then all the bills are coming up, and, oh, then I got this next thing that I'm doing, or a new project. And it's easy to kind of forget about it. And one of the challenges is, like, if you right now are brand new to Money Multiplier and you're like, this is awesome, I want to get started with it right away, you don't have that instant gratification. And the reason for it is you do have to be approved for a policy. So there's about a 6-week or better waiting time from when you start an application to when you actually have an approved policy that's ready to fund for the first time, where you can actually begin doing infinite banking. So one of the challenges we have is kind of keeping people that are really excited at the beginning to keep that excitement going through those 6 weeks till they actually get to the finish line. Because again, once they start the policy and start using it, our data shows 92% of them love it and start additional policies, right? And 100% of people love it because we have 0 complaints, right? So that's very simple. But how do we get them over the finish line just to start the policy from that initial presentation, through that initial consultation, and through the approval process? So Hannah, I know you deal with this a lot on the design side. Gabby, I know you deal with it a lot through doing the initial consultations and follow-up calls. So what are you guys seeing with that? What are some things you can give advice to people that are new to keep their mind right? And where are you at with that?
It all goes back to, because you know what they do, they get into their regular routines, their normal living, and then they go back to that same mindsets and the same habits that they have. And I guess all that you can really do is just keep hanging around the people that, and just keep listening. You don't just keep absorbing it. Listen to, I mean, what I do when I'm driving, I listen to podcasts all day long, and I'll just keep absorbing, keep learning new things. I even learn things from my colleagues that I was like, ooh, that's a good point. I could be talking about that with my people, you know? And that's the number one thing is that, right, they do get really excited, but then they fall off towards the end because right, it is, at the end of the day, it's a whole life policy. A whole life policy is a privilege, right? It's not a right to own a policy. And so some people, they can't qualify for it on the medical side, the financial side, whatever. I'm not going to get into it, but there's ways to go around it. But that's what is the holdup, because at the end of the day, we got to get approved for that death benefit of the policy, and then thus design it properly for this high cash value infinite banking concept. So that's my biggest advice, is just hanging around, because I know Chris posts weekly YouTube videos every single week. I find it hard just to get out podcasts on the Money Multiplier podcast every single week.
It's a full-time job, Hannah. I swear to God, it is my sole focus in what I do is creating content and putting it on YouTube. That is it. So
yeah, that's number one.
And I think that's great, and that's so accurate, Hannah. And I like to add that. Well, I guess there's two things. Well, first, I want to make sure that you guys know that you got to be very choosy about what information you choose to listen to and who you choose to listen to, because there can be a lot of information out there, and information overload. You think, okay, well, like Stephen was saying, you chase the next shiny object. And in that time, you lose the momentum that you would have had going forth towards a policy. You start talking yourself out of it. So be choosy about who you listen to, what information you're absorbing. And the second thing is you got to constantly remind yourself of what you're dealing with. What in the first place made you so excited to get involved with infinite banking? What problem are you trying to solve in your life? Because as time goes on, you have a really bad week, and that's usually what prompts you to find those answers. But then over time, the pain from that problem is not so bad. A week, 2 weeks down the line, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. And exactly, Hannah, you lose sight of the why. You lose sight of why initially did I need this? And you forget all the pain that you're dealing with, because we only are pursuing something to solve a problem. When it gets uncomfortable for us, we want to solve that problem, and we want that pain to stop. So you're forgetting about why you did it in the first place, why you pursued it, why you got it so excited. You're letting all that other information come and interfere with, it's kind of like an intercom system where everybody's trying to talk at once, and you forget why you're even on the intercom system to begin with, right? You lose your train of thought. You got to keep strong. You got to put sticky notes everywhere. Just remind yourself what you're trying to achieve and why you're trying to achieve it. And I think that narrows the gap too, is just keep strong through that until you have that policy in your hand. Don't forget why you're doing this.
Here's another one too, the paralysis by analysis. So actually my mom helped me come up with this one. We call it the KISS principle. Keep it super simple, right? Because everybody, I don't know what it is, but we like to overcomplicate stuff and be over analytical and read through every single dotted I and cross T to say, all right, well, what's going on with this? But I think that you yourself, you start to hold yourself back when you start to be paralysis by analysis. So it's not complicated, that the banking concept's not complicated, right? It's just, hey, instead of putting my money into somebody else's bank, I'm going to put it into my bank, lend out from me, and then make all that interest on me instead of the banker who's making it all on me. And thus I'm excelling their lifestyle when I could be over here excelling my lifestyle. It's just the only reason we haven't started it or done anything with it is because it's just not common knowledge out there. Because actually one of the first things that I wanted to talk about is in the beginning is when we're talking about how like the courses in school for like money and finance. I mean, I just graduated high school in 2017, y'all. Up to 2017, they never taught me how to balance a checkbook, how to go buy a car, how to take a loan from a bank. I mean, even in college, I was actually at one point pursuing to be a CPA, and that's all I knew is just my accounts receivable, my accounts payable, and doing all that. But they never taught me the main core things of survival, of going and getting what is equity in my house. I mean, some people that I talk to that are my age, they don't even know what equity is, right? So I don't know where I was going with that, but
that's awesome, Hannah. And it's it goes back to human nature, like Gabby was talking about. Like, most people don't have that entrepreneurial spirit, or they don't have that self-motivation, right? It's very hard to get off the couch and do 50 push-ups or go on a mile walk. It's very hard to make yourself wake up earlier in the mornings or change your routine. We get into habits every single day, right? So that's human nature. That's everybody. And that's true for myself. That's true for Chris. I mean, Chris, you have how many mentors that you spend how many thousands and tens of thousands of dollars a month with just to keep you focused and keep your mind right? If you want to go out there and improve your physical health, you go out there and you hire a personal trainer. Why? Accountability, motivation. I mean, you could do a pull-up one way. You could do a push-up one way. Why do you need a personal trainer? For those reasons, for human nature to get over and get beyond yourself. So how do you start to do that? Well, we offer lots of ways to do that. We are your money mentors. So if you're working with us to get your policy started, we're there for you. I get text messages all day long. I get emails all day long. I get people scheduling calls. Hey, I just have a quick question. Or, hey, like I just had this one little thing I'm not sure about. Can you talk me through it? I get on the phone. I literally just listen. Like half the time, I don't even say anything. They just want somebody to talk it through with. And that's perfectly okay. And by the way, how much do we charge for that? Nothing. We don't charge you anything. Once you have the policy, we provide the mapping service, which plans out how you're going to use the policy, strategize with you for the best way to use the policy. We don't charge for any of that. So take advantage of that when you're ready to step it up to the next level. Chris and I do a monthly group coaching call. It's called Money School TV, MSTV. There's 100 on-demand videos in there about entrepreneurship, about investing, about motivation that are very, very important. So if you're having a down day, hop on MSTV, watch one of the motivational on-demand videos on there. They're absolutely excellent with some of the top experts and professionals in the country in our network. We brought them on to teach us stuff. Once a month, we do a group coaching call with all of our MSTV members. So join a mentoring program. If you're interested in MSTV, by the way, we have a group coaching call this Thursday. It's 6 p.m. Eastern this Thursday. I'd highly recommend being there. If you're either in MSTV or the Private Money Club, you'll have access to this call. Oh, and also it's $19 a month. So it won't break the bank, okay? So $19 a month, you can enroll for that. Hop on the group coaching call this Thursday. It's going to be with Dr. Ron Eccles this week. An unbelievably motivating, successful, and unique individual. What this guy talks about and coaches on is just, every time I hear him, like I met him years ago as a keynote speaker, and he's just an incredible human being. So if you need that little extra oomph in your life, join MSTV, hop on Thursday, and we're going to have an awesome time Thursday evening. I can't wait to see everybody there. But with that being said, like I said, just, keep going, keep going. Hop on these free webinars that we do every single week. We do Money Club Mondays every Monday. We do Wealth Webinar Series every Wednesday. Ask Me Anything every Wednesday. As they alluded to earlier, Hannah said, Chris puts out new trainings on YouTube multiple times a week. This stuff is so important, especially at the beginning. Like now, like in life, I'll start to explore, like right now, sports season. So I put a little too much time towards sports, but I actually find it affects my business because I'm spending that much time. Like even 14 years later of being in this industry, I have to force myself to listen to podcasts, to read books, to learn new stuff, or you kind of just start to get in a comfortable spot. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable, but why not push yourself? Why not achieve more, do more, have more in life? And that's what it's all about.
Can we touch on one of these things? It's hey, how do we get paid? I don't know. Can we touch on that? Because I get that question a lot because at the same time, I got a kitty cat that has a hungry belly that I need to feed her every morning and night. So
yeah, and we don't, and I think it's important to know, like everybody, has heard all the you know, it's true, but you know, regular whole life pays one hell of a commission. You know, if someone puts 10 grand into the whole life that their broke ass brother-in-law sold them, they're going to make 5,500 to as much as $9,000. That's a heck of a lot of cat food for your kitty. So we must be making a killing, right? Wrong. That same $10,000 put into the specially designed and engineered whole lives that we do pays us about $400. And that's not assuming the grid that we have to go through after that. So it's a big difference, right? Would you guys rather make $9,000 in commission, okay, or $400 for doing the same thing? You'd all rather make $9,000, but you know what the trade-off is? The client has $9,000 less money to use in their policy if you do that. So you can be really selfish, and your advisor or your money mentor can be really selfish and design a policy for you that benefits them, or they could do it the way we do it and give you all the money by giving up our commission so that you have the money to use. That's the whole thing. So how can we survive making $400 per $10,000? The answer is we have figured out how to scale this thing. Brent and Hannah and the entire team, from the application team to the mapping team, is built for scale. It's built to serve thousands of people, not 5, not 10, not 50. Does everybody realize, like, a life insurance salesman working for New York Life or Mass Mutual or Northwestern Mutual, a really good year, like they're going to make the top of the cabinet, they're going to go on all the trips. They probably did 100 policies that year, and they hustled their ass off. They sold a hell of a lot of policies, and that's 100. That's like the best that I ever saw in the industry at 16 years. We do at the Money Multiplier about 200 policies a month. That's how we do it, folks. Pure scale. We don't make a lot per policy. You'll never see us get excited like when we write your policy or help you design your policy. We don't be like, oh, this is awesome, my kitty's gonna get the bestest food this month. Nope. We're on to the next call and the next call to help more and more people, because that is the only way we can make a good living, is to help solve a whole lot of people's money problems.
Well, and that's why Zig Ziglar says, he says, if you help enough people get what they want, you in return will get what you want. So, because we, anyways, I just saw that question pop up in the chat box, because we get that a lot. Hey, well, how do you guys get paid? Do I have to pay for the mapping services and the policy servicing that's going to come throughout the whole life of the policy? Because, right, again, it's not just a 5-year, 10-year thing. This is a whole life thing that you're going to be incorporating into your whole life. So how do I know that you're going to stay up to date with me and stuff? And that's what we do, is that hopefully you like us and we work good together and we're good coaches to you. And then from there, you'll start referring your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers, right? Win-win situation.
The other thing too, I want to bring out, and you know, most people listening to this have heard of this or spoken to somebody or seen something about IULs, Index Universal Lives. Just so everybody knows, we have one of the best videos we've ever created coming out soon about IULs. And it's not a negative thing about IULs. It's just factual, pure mathematics and pure numbers about IULs. Why do you think every broker, every financial advisor, and every person out there wants to sell IULs? I'll give you one guess. Go. That's right. It pays a huge commission. Why wouldn't they want to sell IULs? They can make it seem super sexy because they can pull in hypothetical made up numbers based on past market performance or future market performance. They can manipulate the numbers and make it look as good as they want it to look by showing you something that will not more than likely happen in the future. And they get paid a ginormous commission. There are some, not all, but some IUL policies being sold by these gurus out there saying that those are the silver bullet, the best thing, that pay them 120% of premium. So if someone puts $10,000 into their IUL policy, that advisor makes 120% of that 10,000. So $12,000 if I'm doing my math right. Like, that's a good day in the office. Why wouldn't they want to sell that? Well, I'll tell you, because if they had any kind of ethics behind them, they wouldn't want to sell that because it screws the client. That's why. But they don't care about that because, hey, they got their 12 grand. They're off, doing the next thing. That's why those policies are so popular. That's why every broker wants to sell them. That's why they teach their agents and their brokers to sell them. And that's why all financial advisors seem to only want to sell IULs anymore. Folks, wake up and understand the reason why. Follow the dollar. Why are so few people talking about what we do? Because it pays like complete shit, excuse my language. That's why. And they haven't figured out how to scale, or they just don't want to figure it out because they can just go sell an IUL and make 10x the amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm done. I'm done with that one.
Yeah,
But that's,
as a salesperson, I would love to be able to offer IULs because you can make a ton of money and they're very easy to sell. They're very easy to look good. In reality, do they function for the best use for the client to solve their money problem? 99 times out of 100, no. The answer is no. And would I ever own a policy in IUL myself? Absolutely not. And if I'm not willing to incorporate it into my financial life, why would I ever introduce it and teach other people about it, knowing that it's not going to solve their problems? So, you know, while we do give up a lot of commission in the long run, it's the right thing to do. We create win-win situations, and that's who we are as a company and as an organization and as a team. And I love it.
Good.
All right. So where do you guys want to go next? Is there any questions popping up? Do you want to hit the next topic on here, which would be, we're running down through them. Why haven't I heard of this before? Did we talk about that?
A little bit, but we can go more in depth. Go ahead, Hannah.
Because no one's out there talking about it. Actually, okay, so let's talk about this. Mom was just sitting out on the porch with me last night because they're filing their taxes right now. Well, mom and dad are involved in the 1041 tax world, whereas most people, they're doing 1040 tax forms, right? And so mom was going in and she was explaining to me about how there's this other, when the founding fathers made our constitution, our country, whatever, that there was two tax structures, one that they would use and then the other that everybody else would use. And over here, the one that everybody else uses, they make them so complicated. You got to put in this, you got to multiply, subtract, do all that. And then on top of that, if you screw up over here on this tax form, then you'll be charged a big penalty to do it, you know? And I think it's just, this is kind of might go into some conspiracy theories and stuff, but right, our government, do we fully trust our government? Okay. Another thing is,
No.
it's going.
There goes YouTube.
Right. I mean, do you really, there's that one statistic out there, right? How we're all paying into Social Security and how Social Security is going to be depleted by the year of 2035. I mean, how much trust do you want to give your life and your future in the hands of something like that that's not guaranteed? So honestly, it's just because it's not out there. It's not common knowledge. People just aren't out there talking about it. And that's why we have this duty to go out and spread the message of infinite banking and really anything else that we learn that we're actively doing in our lives too.
Yeah, and another thing I always like to bring to people's attention is, I think the people who are in the best position to tell you about this, you know, probably the people you go to your finances, the banks, the financial institutions, they know about it because they use it, but they don't want to tell you about it because then it would lose them business. So, I mean, you have to think, like Chris said, you follow the dollar, and the dollar is, you know, if it's in their pocket, they want to keep it there. So they're not going to tell you about it. So you got to find the right sources. And even if you go to an insurance company who, you know, even one that we write with, most of the people that you talk to there don't understand what we do. That's why we do what we do, because we're specialists in it. We do it every single day. So to get that knowledge, you got to go to somebody who that's all they do. And those are the people you can trust. And those are the people you can listen to and learn from.
yeah, I mean, there's one guy commenting a lot, and you know, one thing I would say to him is, you know, if you had heart problems, if you were having a heart attack or your heart wasn't working right, would you just go to your primary care physician and say, hey, doc, you got to fix my heart? Well, even if you did, your physician would then send you off to a specialist. A specialist, the only thing that they do is work on hearts. That's the person you want opening your heart up and fixing it and making it work the right way. Somebody that has done it hundreds, maybe thousands of times. And that is the only thing they do day in and day out because they're a specialist. That's what we are. We don't sell term insurance. We will never sell IULs. You don't come to us to manage or invest your money. None of that. We do one thing. We do banking. That's what we do. And we teach the infinite banking concept. And when you find somebody that's a specialist in something, they know the most about it. And number one, they've been trained in it. So that's exactly what we are. So, when you're asking, is this a job and all these things, we are the heart specialist for the infinite banking concept. That's the easiest way to explain what we do. The other thing, I kind of put this up behind me and I didn't really talk about it, but we've all flown in airplanes and you've all heard the pilot come on over the loudspeaker. Hey folks, how you doing? We're flying over sunny Arizona. I just wanted to give you guys an update and let you know that we got a really strong headwind. So we're going to be arriving about 30 minutes late to the gate in California. So if you have any connecting flights, you're probably going to miss them. Otherwise, run your ass off and maybe you'll catch the flight. Thanks for flying with XYZ Airlines. That airplane was operating in the wrong environment. It was operating in an environment with a headwind. There's nothing that pilot can do. He can't floor that plane, make it go any faster because he's fighting an outside force that is unfightable. But then you've all been in the airplane where the pilot comes on. Hey folks, how's everybody doing? Yep, it's beautiful down there right below you on the left side. You see the Grand Canyon. I just wanted to come on and give you guys some good news. We've got a heck of a tailwind behind this plane. We're going to arrive an hour early. So if you guys are getting hungry, this is going to be a perfect time for you to grab some food. Don't run to your next gate. You got plenty of time and give a thanks to the tailwind. That's it. You're operating the plane in the proper environment. The plane now has a perpetual tailwind that is making it go faster without any extra effort. The pilot doesn't have to do a damn thing different. I talk about airplanes because it is the easiest way to understand money. Money and you and the way your money operates, you have the ability to change the environment and it works in. Right now, your money more than likely is working in an environment with a perpetual headwind. What is that headwind? Advisor fees, 401k fees, savings accounts, they're not paying you anything and you're losing to inflation, headwinds, taxes, all those things are all headwinds. Change your environment in which your money operates and put a perpetual tailwind behind it. And what is that perpetual tailwind? Tax-free environment. Uninterrupted compound interest, the ability for your money to work and earn interest and dividends, no matter what you are doing with that money, whether it's sitting there or whether you've deployed it all, it still earns that uninterrupted compound interest. To me, if I have a choice as to what environment my money is going to operate in, it's an easy choice. I don't even need to think about it. Yeah, of course I want uninterrupted compound interest. Oh, heck yeah. Of course I want my money working where it's in a tax environment, tax-free environment. Oh yeah, of course I don't want my money to be, seized in a lawsuit or a judgment. Oh, wait a second. And that perpetual tailwind offers a legacy. If I'm no longer here anymore, my daughter gets a windfall money. Well, sign me up. What is this thing? Oh, it's specially designed and engineered whole life. I heard Dave Ramsey say that sucks. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Really? Because that's exactly what we're talking about. Read the book, 501k. Chapter number 1. This is the guy that invented the 401k. Chapter 1, he talks about this machine. And he's not explaining what it is. He's just talking about all these features. And you get wrapped into it. You're like, oh my God, this sounds awesome. This sounds so great. Then he calls it a Swiss Army knife of the financial world. I'm like, yep, this is the thing I need. I've been waiting for this. And then he goes out and he says, whole life. That's what he says. And he's just like, and you're just thinking to yourself, wait a second. No way. It sounds too good to be true. That can't be a whole life. Everybody says whole life sucks. But everybody is missing one thing. And that one thing is that not all whole lives are created equal. Just like the Ford Focus that you saw at the dealership, that Ford Focus isn't the same damn Ford Focus Ken Block takes 130 miles an hour around a turn in full control. No. That Ford Focus is specially designed and engineered to do that. The plans we build, the specially designed whole lives we build are Ken Block's Ford Focus. It's still a whole life, but it's designed and engineered to do things a regular whole life could never dream of doing. And there's one reason, and that regular whole life can't do this because it's not designed and engineered to do it. It's designed to pay money out someday when you die. You never hear us talking about the damn death benefit. We don't even care about it. Matter of fact, if you do a policy with us and you want a big death benefit, you're in the wrong place. you're going to be really upset with us. That would be probably the only way a client could ever be mad at us if they started one of these policies thinking they're going to get a big death benefit. Gabby, didn't you have somebody that decided not to move forward because the death benefit wasn't enough? He's like, well, I don't want to do this because the death benefit's not enough. Of course it's not. We intentionally put the lowest death benefit you can possibly put on this. And to Dave Ramsey, who's the biggest hater of whole life, he should be so proud of us, because one of the things that we put on most policies to make them actually work the way they are is term insurance. The one thing Dave Ramsey loves, he loves term insurance. We build these plans with term insurance. Holy crap, but Dave Ramsey hates us. He says infinite banking is a scam, which tells us he has no freaking clue what infinite banking actually is.
All right, we're running down here. We've got a few more minutes, so I want to make sure we hit anything. So anybody in the chat, is there anything that, like, maybe those of you that are active infinite banking, you have a money multiplier policy, anything that helped you kind of go through the process, or anything that, like, you know, once you had the policy that kind of got you using it more, or anything new that you've discovered? Or if you're brand new, are there any other questions you want Hannah, Gabby, any of us to hit before we wrap up here? Just throw those in the Q&A box real fast, or chat in what you're doing with your policies. You know, what are you guys doing? Those of you that have them, let's see what you got. You know, do you have any, is there anything new that you learned once you got it that you're like, oh, that's like a light bulb went off, those kinds of things? Let's hear it. All right. So what if I don't qualify for a whole life policy? Hannah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So if you don't qualify, let's say on the health side, you had open heart surgery last year or something, or you have cancer. So what people will do is that they will put policies on somebody else that they have a vested interest in. So like a spouse or a business partner, a child, I mean, I've even had friends and siblings get approved, and that one's a weird little route, and we can talk about it on a case-by-case situation. But you put the policy on somebody else, you be the owner of that policy, and now you being the owner, you're the one who's in 100% control of that policy, and thus you being in 100% control, loans are made payable to you, you're responsible for making the premiums, etc. So put that policy on somebody else's body if you can't qualify for it on the medical side.
Absolutely. I see some comments coming in. You know, Jim just said, too wise to have infinite banking, inflation and taxes. And that's a good point. I mean, we don't really talk about taxes, but all the money that goes into the policy, you're not done with taxes. So what are taxes doing right now? Right? There's all kinds of proposals for all kinds of taxes, including cap gains and everything to increase right now. So we're getting the money in the policy. Once it's in the policy, you now, as long as you follow the rules and everything's done properly, you now have tax-free growth for the rest of your life, compounding annual guaranteed interest inside that policy. You pull the money out to use it for infinite banking through the form of a loan. It comes out tax-free. So now you can get that money to work. At some point when you graduate, as Chris says, or pass away, that death benefit, in many cases in the 7-figure range and larger, is now paid out to your beneficiaries. Beneficiaries are whoever you choose. It can be it can be a spouse, it can be children, grandkids, a friend, it can be a charity, it can be anybody you want it to be. That beneficiary receives that entire death benefit tax-free. So we're getting the taxes out of the way. We're growing this money tax-free and taking advantage of tax-free growth for the rest of our lives. So that's a great thing. And then inflation, money sitting in a bank account right now. What does a bank pay? What is a checking account? What is a savings account? What does a money market account pay? Essentially zero, right? Where is inflation right now? According to the White House, we're at 5%. In the real world, we're more like 10 to 12%. So your money sitting at 1 and losing 5 to 10, 12%. What's happening? You're losing money every single year. So let's get it into a vehicle where it's growing. Let's use that money to grow it even more. And let's start outpacing that kind of thing. And that's how you start creating wealth, and you get beyond the 95% that do not retire the way and the lifestyle that they want to. And you start being able to control your money, control your life, and do what you want in life. Because let me say this, life is no dress rehearsal. You get one shot at it, then you're gone. That death benefit goes to somebody else and you move on to whatever's next, right? You get one shot at it. So make the best of it.
And let's talk about and I know we talked about just a little bit, but the difference between so really there's no difference between a whole life insurance company and the conventional bank. I mean, the difference between them is just the names on the front door. They're both depositories of where we can store that wealth. And honestly, so over here at the bank, you're storing your money in somebody else's bank. They're lending it out, making a good living off of it, and then the shareholders and the stockholders of that bank sharing the profits and the dividends of that bank. Or over here at the life insurance company, you are deposited into your own bank, where you sharing the profits and the dividends of a whole life company itself. So just a little thing I wanted to add on.
Absolutely. Lots of good.
I think Joe had one really good question, I think, for this topic that we're talking about. And I don't think he's the only one. He says he wants to do this. He just keeps putting it off. What do you say to me to get me off my arse? Oops, here we go. To get going with this, because Chris has said many times people know what they should do, but don't.
You got to move your feet. I mean, because honestly, y'all, the first years of the policy are always going to be there, right? If you're just kicking the can down the road, now you're older. If you're trying to put the policy on your body, hopefully you're in the same health as you are 2 years ago. Because right, let's say maybe a health concern comes up and now you can't qualify for the policy. Well, that would suck. And so it's just, yeah, you just got to get up and start moving and start doing the physical actions of it.
I think one thing that we do a terrible
Dad wanted to add in. He said you got to hop in the pool in order to learn how to swim.
Exactly. You can't just sit on the outside of the pool waiting to learn how to swim. One thing that we intentionally don't do a very good job on is we never ask people for their business. We never sell. We're never, doing a call with people saying, hey, are you ready to go? I mean, now's the time. Time is now. You should get this started. We don't do that because we want you to learn this. We teach you very well. We answer all your questions. And then from there, you have to leap and jump in the damn pool. We're not going to push you in, because what we found is when we start somebody, we don't want them to come up with reasons. Oh, well, they sold me on this. No, we're never going to sell you on this. This is your decision. And that's actually a problem for some people, because some people just can't make a decision. They want somebody else to make the decision for them. But part of learning how to be in control of your money is you learning how to make the decision to be in control of your money. It's not our job to help you change your broken mindset. It's not our job to push you in the pool. It's our job to teach you all the things that you need to understand and how this solves your problem, so that you then can feel confident about jumping in that pool, being like, man, I'm going to crush this pool. That's our job. Because the people that sell this, I feel like they're not doing a disservice, but they're just not allowing people to make an important decision. And if that person doesn't make the decision for themselves, how can they make the decision later to start applying banking principles in their life if they didn't make the decision in the first place?
You got to want it. You got to believe in it. Go, get motivation. Like we talked about before, find a mentor, continue to watch, things that are going to improve your situation, motivate you. Turn the news off. Negative education with society. The news is such garbage. I haven't watched the news in so many years. I can't even remember anymore. Watch movies like Rudy. So we just did a Rudy. I mean, if you don't get motivated by the movie Rudy, I don't know what will. I mean, we just had a mastermind money multiplier mastermind a couple weeks ago in Buffalo. Chris flew in Rudy, like the real Rudy from the movie. And he just sat up there and gave his story about how everybody told him he couldn't do it, how you're never going to be anything, how it's not possible for someone that's 5'7" and whatever pounds to play at college football at that level. He went out there and said, F you, I'm going to do it. And sometimes that's what you got to do in life. You just got to go out there and say, I don't care. The odds are against me. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to do this. Now, the beautiful thing about money multiplier, infinite banking, is this is proven stuff. It's been around for hundreds of years. It's not even controversial. This stuff, it's just a strategy that you're going to follow. So you don't even have to overcome all that. You just got to have the open-mindedness and the motivation yourself to say, okay, I'm going to try something new and just roll with it.
I was about to comment on that because what we're doing is we're not reinventing the wheel or creating something new, or we're just basically following and mimicking all of the wealthy individuals, especially the banks, right? I mean, banks are the #1 purchasers of whole life insurance in the world. And well, even just in our country too, right? So if you go out and Google BOLI, bank owned life insurance, you'll see the hundreds of pages and how much of their portfolio is just in whole life insurance. And how they're doing that is if you go into the banks. I know I got Jason Rodriguez on here, and he's a bank manager, and I want to ask him, when he started at that bank, how long did it take him to move up the ladder? Because I bet it was pretty quick, because once you have that little name tag that says you're an executive or you're high up there, now the bank can put a policy on your body, and they're doing the same exact thing as that we're doing.
Yeah, and I know we're going to wrap up soon, but I just wanted to leave you guys with one more thing about it. Take the first step. Once you take that first step, it'll create momentum. Then you'll start taking the second step, and don't stop. I know we talked about this before earlier on how not to lose that momentum, but just take the first step, or watch the video, book the call, and then on that call, make a plan on what questions you're going to ask and when and how you're going to move forward.
Yeah. So to close this thing out, I also want to say one important thing about building wealth and getting rich and all the stuff that we're talking about being able to do. It's very easy to build wealth, but it's also it's way easier to lose that wealth, to give that wealth back. And that's what we're inherently trained and taught our entire lives, is we are taught to not keep our money. The whole system is designed against you. The whole system is designed to take your control of your money away so that it all ends up back in the same place. You've all heard it. If somebody wins the lottery, the money is all gone in a short few years and back in the hands of the original people. It's your responsibility to change that for your family, for your future family. Nobody else will do it. The cavalry is not coming. So now is the time for you to take that leap. Now is the time for you to take a stand and understand that you and you alone need to be a good steward of your money. And the best way to do that is to start right now by putting yourself in control of the money and then learn from there. You don't have to understand everything. You're never going to know everything. So just understand that the #1 thing to understand today is that you need to be in control of your money. So this is it, folks. Go out there and in these troubling, trying, crazy times, make a change that changes your financial future, because you got this and you're the only one that's ever going to do it. So why not start now? All right, folks, if you guys loved that training, then you absolutely have to check out this one, because this one's going to blow your mind. And you really got to be asking yourself, is this too good to be true? Well, is it? Well, check the video out and we'll see you next time.